Carlson, Ben Peters, and myself. Online is our attorney Chris Hood, Mike Roth, and Kim Dunsmore. And that's our full group. Is anyone here for open forum? All right, with that, open forum is done. Next up, the consent agenda. Any questions about the meeting minutes or bills from last time, or comments, changes?
Had a quick question about the IRRRB Community Infrastructure Grant, so I don't know if it's worth just asking a quick question or pulling it and talking about it separately.
I don't see, that's fine with me if you want to ask, is that something you want to ask Kim?
Well, is this a new project? Like, what is the, it says that this is for money to be done after August 10th.
Oh, I'm assuming that has to do with the timing on when the grant is open and available, but this is still with the Fifth Street project.
So that the grant wouldn't be approved until August 9th, so any work before that is not eligible.
Okay,
Timing on that.
but same project.
Yeah.
Correct.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then we had the hirings and then the addition. Do we need to amend this to include the dirt candy bill in this?
Yes.
Okay, I would make a motion to add the dirt candy bill, which would be for the work on, is that First Street and
4th Avenue.
Fourth? That we had the Soil and Water gave us the grant for. Or that was the grant for, I should say. Can do the work. So, so I'd make a motion to add that to the consent agenda. Anyone like to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other comment about that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other additions or changes? Okay. All in favor of the consent agenda as amended?
Aye.
Alrighty. Took care of that. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the draft library budget. Between Kim and Amanda, we've got a lot of background information. We've got a revised budget, a few corrections, and quite a bit of reading material. Anyone have still have questions? Maybe we should start that way. Is that okay? Questions? Additional after reading and looking at this?
No, I appreciated the time that went into some more of the background and taking a look at those numbers and explaining not only the history, but some of the staffing changes that I wasn't aware of. So I appreciate that. And I think the only other question that I had was relative to some of those 215 account funds. And I know that when they're received, and it makes sense that people would restrict their contributions, but it doesn't explain necessarily the $350,000 that is in that account. Is that my understanding? Is that's the balance? And so, what is the plan to ever draw down on that? If it can only be used, what are the specific things that block of money can be used for, or has been earmarked for, or when it was donated, what restrictions were on it? And so that's the only question that I had. Overall, I appreciate the changes in the budget and the looks like 4.8%, which I don't have any objection to.
Oh,
But that's,
Amanda, would you like to come up to I didn't. Are you here for Library 2, Dave?
I'm sorry?
Are you here for Library 2?
Yes, I am.
Yep, okay, very good, thank you. I don't know who between you and Kim who wanted to answer Ben's questions, so.
specifically the 350, the 215 account.
Yeah.
That's for one-time, basically capital projects that are not ongoing, that are not operational. So something maybe in Memorial, or say if we needed furniture, or dividing offices, that's like a one-time thing. Versus operational ongoing stuff. So you can
tell
also
me what determines that, Dave? Like how is that determined that that's how the money's used?
I believe it's written in the fund, and Kim would probably know better if that's my memory, is that there is like a paragraph or a blurb stating what this fund can and cannot be used for, and that's kind of the general outline. So
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe
but it is available for kind of those bigger picture things. If we want to talk about how can the library expand or build, or what else does the community need, we can look at that for those types of things. But for annual operations, that's not its intended use.
Okay.
The specific language is not very clear on what you can and can't spend the money on, and there's differences in gift to gift. So most of determining where the money is spent is a policy decision made by the library board.
And do we have, I mean, has the council been provided with that language, or no? It doesn't sound like it.
No.
The language that the council has in the memo in the packet is the specific language from the Hazel Matthews
Okay.
gift. And that's probably the most restrictive that we have.
Sure.
And even that one, talking about not substituting for other public monies, it's hard to know exactly what is substituting or not.
Right.
I think it gives the library board a lot of leeway to make a policy decision about how to spend the money.
But the concept's still there, the thought that this is not a fund to basically operate a library with. It could be used for things that they need in operating, but more that extra above and beyond, bigger, whatever kind of things, which you've shown that you've used them for in the last several sentences of your, did you write this, Amanda?
I did.
That Amanda wrote on here, the computers and different things, but, which still spares the operating budget a bit to be able to have
Sure.
that extra money to do that above and beyond just general.
Yeah, and as the library board goes through its next strategic planning, I hope to involve the city council as well as much as we can, and that could be another opportunity to really try to dream about where we want to see things go, how we want things to look, and what our community needs, how they need to be served, and how the library can better do that. And it's good to know we have resources like that. When I had my onboarding, it was kind of explained to me, because there was a lot of questions about the different other funds, our investment funds, and we can be getting a better return on those funds, and we need to pursue those more aggressively. And kind of how it was explained to me is like, those are important investments that we can use and leverage, but we still need to keep the library a public library, right? We don't want it to be a private library run with private endowments and that sort of thing. And so it's really important to have those kind of separations, but in the strategic planning, we can also kind of shape where we want to go. And yeah, I appreciate the mention of more flexibility. In my mind, it's always quite restrictive. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah, that's really just what I wanted to hear, was like who determines
The board,
that, and
yeah.
what is that language, and it sounds like it's fairly flexible.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I also, when you made that last comment, thinking it through from that angle, that is important, not to start thinking that you have a budget larger than you really do,
Right.
because that budget is dependent on
Right.
these outside dollars. You know, we can, as a group, decide what they have to spend, but we can't control the potential of outside money all the time just to make the library
Right.
go all the time.
Yeah, I would offer that maybe conversely, you know, if you had been left an endowment, and somebody wanted the money to be used to help the library and it's sitting in a bank account
Sure.
somewhere
Sure.
that's not being used how it was intended maybe. So there is,
Good point.
yeah, there may be more conversation on how we
Absolutely.
use that money.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because in my position, actually, yeah, and I'm sure as you are in your positions, the tendency is to be as conservative as possible with other people's money, right? It's said it's easy to spend other people's money, and I don't know, that's just not how I was raised. And so when we have like a fund of donated dollars, I shy away from that more than, again, it's taxpayer dollars, but for whatever reason, you know, I feel more comfortable using our operational dollars than I do in our savings account, right? And we've talked about this too,
Yeah.
just the county level and different philosophies and comfort levels and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's an interesting potential. And yeah, like I said, I hope you guys can be more involved in that strategic planning session as we get it rolling.
Aaron, Craig, anyone else had questions or?
Didn't have any questions, no. Thank you, though.
Well, I kind of, I understand the endowment fund and all that. It's nice to have that money there for whatever reasons you might need to use it. But also, I think, as budgets escalate, like I've seen them escalate just the past few years I've been sitting here, I do think that, it's not a bad idea to know that that money is there and maybe it can be used to offset some expenditures. I mean, I know this is a 50-50 partnership with the county, and it's kind of nice to have that partnership, but the city, people that live in the city, it's not a 50-50, it's a 100% deal for them. They pay both ways on their taxes. So I think it's just something that, we should look at. The flexibility of the fund, what it can be used for, and, what it can't be used for. I don't know, I'm just kind of, because we all know that, I mean, we've seen increases in budgets. I mean, for the first few years, we're trying to stay at, 3%, 4%, 3%, 4%, but now all of a sudden, we're looking at 6, 8, 9%. So, I mean, numbers keep getting bigger, but, I don't know, I'm just looking at it. It's nice to have the money there, but also don't forget that I just think it's, in a way, I think it's wrong to just let that money just keep building and building and building and building and never touch it, because then what are you going to ever use it for? You going to build a new library? I don't think so. I mean, maybe 30 years from now we might. I don't know. But right now, we don't need a new library. We don't need big capital expenditures, other than what our insurance paid for, the water damage and that kind of stuff, but maintenance. But I don't know, just keep an open mind to that money and what it's there for, and that it's basically been given to the library. In my opinion, I know people who talk about this too, and it's for the library. So, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. So I guess I don't have any questions about it. I just, I guess I would question how the money can be spent, how it can be used, what it can be used for. Those are things that I think I'm concerned about. Whether you need to use it or not, that's up to the library board, or the city or the county. So.
That is always a deal I've wondered about too, on the times that we share costs with the county, that then our city residents, are paying at the city level, and they're paying, even the Y, then we pay again. And like, why do we do a 50-50 split? I've never quite understood why we handle things that way completely, but I've also never asked someone to have a larger conversation about it.
Short answer is the pool.
Well, I mean, I know we contribute, but you know what I mean. Like Craig just said now, people are paying,
And double, yeah.
yeah, for this. so.
Well, you could even say it for administrative services.
Yeah, there's also, these are just, there's very other examples
Yep.
of that, and we just always do a 50/50, and yet realizing the residents of the city then are, on both sides of it. But,
So we have the revised plan here then is this
So
page,
That's yes, this is the one that was.
4.8?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate just the cognizance of costs going up continually, and from my pretty narrow perception, it's largely health insurance. Labor is our biggest cost, and then health insurance is a huge cost of that. That's been changing drastically, and that's because our pool is paying out more, not our swimming pool, but our pool of insured people, employees. And so how do we get that down is to make employees healthier, right? To have people more active, to have people just a more healthier mindset and be proactive with their health. It's not an easy thing to accomplish, but I think it's worthwhile if we're really concerned about our costs going up, and I know we all are.
yeah, and that's where, you try to rise it up to that level, and the city or counties are any different than any private employer. Those are, employee costs are the highest costs,
Yeah.
but you can't poke at that all the time either
Right?
to save your money.
No.
And insurance companies and employers have been trying for many, 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 many years to get people healthier
yeah.
with, I think, minimal results
Yeah.
of changing lifestyle habits. But not that they stopped trying to do that. And it still wouldn't, you can still go out and break your leg or something, whatever, totally unrelated to
Oh, yeah.
your,
No.
that's still affected. But overall, when you look at how the rest of the library is spending the rest of their general operating dollars, there isn't a lot of variance here, and I think that was the point we noticed last time. Like you just said, Dave, the majority of this is based those two pieces. And so then when you get back to saying, how do we spend our extra money? I'm not sure, because then in a way you're saying it's going toward, are we allowed to put it toward our staffing and all staff-related costs? I don't know then.
Well, then it's gone. After,
Yeah.
not too long, it'll go pretty quick doing that.
Well, yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, if you have something special programming or something to do, I mean, that's
Sure.
over and above
Yeah.
whatever, equipment wants and needs and things like that. I think
heat pumps.
that's a great time to spend that money on that, because I think the people who gave it to the library, that's the kind of thing they want to see it spent on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Which, looking at your notes, it's apparently what you've done
Yeah.
with some of this, so that's good. These are just hard conversations, because it's like that, and you don't want to make things on the backs of your employees and staff who are working really hard either. Anything else?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
No.
Okay. So I will ask for a vote for an approval of the budget as presented to us. So Amanda and staff may move on to, does this mean we are no longer visiting with the county?
Correct. Automatic approval from the county, less than 5%.
Less than 5%?
So you're okay then? Yeah.
I'm sure they'll still appreciate a visit and a conversation.
Yep.
Yes, I would
Yeah.
think so. But do we really need to do, approval anyways?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I would make a motion to approve the draft library budget for 2024.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Yeah, appreciate the hard work.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together.
Amanda and Kim.
It's nice to
Thanks, Mike.
get educated on all that.
Have a great night.
You too. Thank you. Nice to work there.
Yep.
So, next up, related to the harbor entrance, Craig?
The Harbor Park Landing, or no, what's it called?
Yeah, Overlook Landing, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, CEC recommendation for the Morris Honorarium. Yeah, we met at the last park board meeting. I think I brought this up a little bit at the last city council meeting, but we weren't ready to really discuss it. The work is going pretty well over there. I see they've finished the top deck, concrete now, and they're waiting for that to dry, and then they'll probably be starting pretty quick. They'll be mounting stuff on that. Anyway, the George Morrison honorarium fees, what this is basically about is the CEC checked into different ways of how these potential artist fees can be calculated, and the conclusion that they came up is a common number of 2% of the larger project, which is the CEC would support as a rate for this project, and it's calculated to be approximately $7,500. So the CEC supports providing the Morrison family with an honorarium fee of approximately 2% for the artistic elements that are going to be incorporated into this landing. Mostly the wrought iron work that's going to be mounted on the sides of it and on the top of it. It's a see-through type thing. We're not doing any plastic panels or glass panels or anything like that because of just upkeep and cleaning, so it's going to be somewhat easier to maintain the look of it. And also, the CEC is going to continue to look for supporting funds to build a kiosk that would explain the George Morrison artwork and the history behind George Morrison, knowing that some of the accomplishments that he already has had with the forever stamp in the United States Postal Service, and he had some art. He had some native, some of his native art displayed at the White House also. So those types of things, I think they want to work into the kiosk. So anyway, what this is we support the park board supported this amount of money to be paid to the to be paid to his honor on his honor to his family, and I guess that's the bottom line on this. And if anybody has any questions, it's a one-time payment.
One-time payment.
Yeah, it's a one-time payment for his artistic elements that have been utilized in the design of this overlook.
So is this asking our approval or just letting us know?
Well, I think it's the city has to approve this, correct? The park board approved it and sent it to the city, so yeah, I think we need a motion to approve this.
Okay.
Yeah, they're asking for it. We'll be spending the money out of the park's capital funds, but I
Right.
think it would be appropriate for the city council to approve it.
Okay. What do you want?
And it's something that's been in discussion for quite a long time between Dave and the family. Yeah, I mean, because we put this up for bid once already and we denied it because it was kind of a little expensive, so we waited after COVID and got some better numbers that kind of better fit into what we had originally budgeted for this, you know? And so when that happened, then we knew, okay, great, we can move ahead. And so then that's when we knew now we had to come up with a number that worked with the guidelines that artists use in stuff like this, so.
Okay.
Motion to approve the CEC recommendation for the Morrison honorarium.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So, good. That'll be nice to see that all done. That's been many years to get that whole little welcome landing, whatever,
Yeah, that would be cool.
put together.
It's kind of weird because I drove by the other day and looked at it. It's like, it looks bigger on paper. I drove by, I'm going, isn't it supposed to be like longer? Of course, there's stairs that go off yet that we don't see, but you know, it'll be a nice little area to people to pull into and stand and sit, you know, kind of a lead into the park coming from the west, basically, is what it's going to be, you know, and to the north house, the park. So, yeah, I think it'll be a nice little addition to that overall highway project that we finished up on that end of town, so.
It just won't say tourist park across the top anymore?
Yeah, we don't even have a sign yet for the tourist parks. That's something we were working on too, is where to put that
Oh,
on
yeah.
coming down the highway.
Mhm.
That got pushed out of our space.
Oh, MnDOT.
We have land there, but MnDOT won't let us use where we had the sign,
Sure.
so,
That's a common story.
yeah. Anyway,
Alright.
we'll figure it out. We've got land there, so we can do it.
Moving
It's not,
along.
people find it pretty nice, so it's kind of. But I don't know about this, Mike. Did you notice? I was thinking about this when they put the boat landing down there, the DNR. I don't think there's any signage on the highway that says boat landing.
Oh, that the state would normally put up?
I think
I'm not sure if there is. I think the
Wouldn't you think the
brown
state-
signs are still coming.
Wouldn't the state sign that?
Yeah, they'll be signing that
Okay.
public access.
Public access? Yeah, I was just wondering, because if I don't know if there's any way we can work with the state on that to actually sign the rec park with that. I don't know, but then they would be putting it on their property. With our permission, we'd let them.
They're just gonna give you a little brown sign.
Well, I'm just thinking, they gotta put a sign there anyway, so why not, it's hand in hand. I mean, it might be a thought to approach them on that, see what they think, I guess, I don't know. Maybe not, I'm just shooting from the hip here, but.
Should we just get you a metal sign and a can of spray paint?
Well, they're gonna put a sign that says boat launch, I mean, because they do it all the way down the shore.
Sure.
It's just that, we can't put, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
get it.
It's there right away, so. Kill two
And
birds
in the
with.
meantime, it really hasn't slowed down any traffic.
Well, no, it has not slowed down any traffic, but I just thought, well.
But it should be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be artistically done so it looks nice and kind of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's all I'm thinking.
Give that off to the CEC again.
Yeah. Put
All
them in.
right, hot topic of the evening. Ordinance 2023-04 for cannabis and alcohol. Hey Patrick, do you have the map handy again to put up on the screen? Do we need the map on the screen? I had so much trouble last time.
I have, I don't need it, I've got
I don't
it
know.
up here.
Oh, you guys
Yeah,
are
I mean,
okay?
we can change,
Just-
we can,
I can look at this one
we can
too.
put
Sure.
borders in wherever we want.
Did we get any comments at all? Has anybody received any comments?
I did reach out to the sheriff and the county attorney, and Sheriff Lyson thought it looked good, so he didn't have any suggested changes for it.
Okay. Anything from Molly then, or no?
She's tied up at the moment.
Okay, all right.
What the county's doing. Okay.
Well, we're meeting the 10th of August?
Yeah.
Yeah, again,
Right.
for other things to try to tie them together potentially.
So, refresh my memory, are we including the rec park?
So, we hadn't.
No.
Do you guys have other thoughts about that? We had kept that separate. You have a change of, you want to talk about that?
Well, I just like talking about it at least. I mean, I think
Yeah, I mean,
that
I'm
would be a
just-
good idea to include.
After watching what other cities are doing the last few nights on television and public information and stuff like that, I know that a lot of them are looking at their parks and their public lands within their cities, and they're taking action on those parcels to
Including
are
like
they
a
banning
tourist,
them?
to not allow.
which we are doing on some of our park, but you mean like the campground type? Because you're talking about.
Well, I don't know
campground,
about-
right?
Specific, that was my
Yeah,
specific question.
I don't know
was
about
how we were gonna
campgrounds
do
in
about
other,
that.
I don't know about campgrounds in other cities, but I know on public lands and playgrounds and parks,
Mm-hmm.
like Duluth is not gonna allow it. that's one city, and I know there's other smaller towns that have done the same thing, so I'm just,
Well, we have included, tell me if I got this right. It's my understanding we have included Harbor Park and we have included Boulder Park, and we included Artist Point out to the lighthouse. And am I totally wrong on this? Like,
They're not in the language yet. Can you see the map that I put up on the screen?
Yep.
yep,
So the brick color, the yellow color, and the dark blue color are the three zones that used to be the C1 zone, and they're specifically listed in the draft ordinance that you did a first reading of.
okay,
The light blue color is the protected resource zone, which extends along the shoreline through most of the city, although not the downtown area. And then also covers Artist Point and Boulder Park and those Coast Guard station area, which is not included in the draft, although I think it's worth having that conversation tonight. It would be a simple thing to just include the protected resource zone
well,
in the list, and then those things would be covered as well.
we did talk about that last time, but then the problems we started to have was when you got really far east and really far west, and that's when we weren't really sure.
on the shoreline.
Yeah, on the shoreline, then that didn't seem like the right wording.
It won't be affected because the exceptions say that private residences, private property are not covered by this rule, and all those areas that are east and west of town that are not the Rec Park Beach are private residences and private property, so
Okay.
they wouldn't be
Is that
affected
better?
by this.
Okay.
That's fine.
Then, but what does that do to the rec park then? I see all the blue around that. If at this point, I know you want to talk about it, but
Yeah.
at this point, we don't have it included, then what? Then, are we still kind of goofy?
I think the park board should have that conversation.
We did-
And
we
when
did
we
not.
started this,
Sure.
it was my thought that this is just a first effort and it will likely get changed probably a few times as we learn about this over the next couple of years. So
Okay.
whether or not you want to include the rec park property, this brown color that the rec park property is also the same zone that the old ski hill property is covered under. So you could include that as well on the list. And I think whether the old ski hill property is included or not is kind of a moot point. So be easy to put the rec park in if you wanted to tonight.
Okay.
So you don't feel like the park board should have the conversation first?
Well, I think they should, and I don't know that they said they want to make this rule yet, so, and it's easy enough for us to just come back and pass another ordinance and amend it. There's just that time gap in between.
Sure. Okay. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's appropriate that they,
I'm just looking
I
at,
was surprised you guys haven't talked about that, but.
yeah.
And then, I mean, I don't want to like talk about it forever either from that, but then I realize people sit around in their campers and have a beer, right? I mean, are we getting, I don't know, I think you guys should talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should talk
talk
about
Well, I
it.
think being in your camper is one thing, walking around the rec park's another. I mean, that's my opinion, like in your house is one thing, walking around 8th Broadway is another, so I mean,
So Chris, if you were sitting in your camper or whatever, is that sort of like being on private property, or you're still basically on public property and then you're like it's not, you can't do it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know,
You know, I mean, your
It's a facility.
designation is public places in designated districts.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a little bit like saying, well, you know, I'm gonna, you know, have my fifth of Jack Daniels in my car too.
Yeah,
yeah.
parked on the point.
Well, the funny thing though is
Right.
that we know what these districts are, but nobody else does.
Well, so
So, like,
nobody else,
like-
we're gonna have to signage this stuff, or the public
Right.
is.
We've got a release that we're gonna use with a map that's just got boundaries on it. So
Okay.
we're not gonna talk about the zones when we communicate with the public. We're just
Okay.
gonna show a map that says, this is the area where public spaces, it's not allowed.
And I've asked Patrick to make sure this gets onto Boreal. Brian Larson's reserving space in the newspaper. I'd like to get in front of WTIP. I want to get ahead by August 1st, so we do everything we can. Are you gonna do any posters? Well, we can talk about it later.
Well, the rec park,
Patrick.
it's easy for the rec park because they can do it upon check-in, you know, everybody who checks in.
So if we back up just a second, and I'm
Yep.
sorry if I interrupted anybody,
Nope.
but we did want to include the public resources. Is that what I'm?
Protected resource.
Public
Protected resource
Protected resource.
The
zone,
PR, okay.
right? Is that what we
I'm
talked about?
I'm
Yeah, that
okay
would be the-
now that he explained, like,
Yes.
not screwing up
Yeah.
the far edges.
The residential zoning was the areas that we were a little concerned about.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it a little bit goofy in the rec park, because it's the shoreline, but, so they're gonna, I mean, you're gonna have to deal with that.
Until they figure out. I mean, this isn't like our law enforcement is out on patrol looking to really, you know, we
Yeah,
have
it's-
something to protect
Yeah, it's gonna be-
problems.
Be nuisance calls. just
It'll
like
be
everything
nuisance, and
else.
that's what it's gonna be like everything else.
Right.
Then you're
Whether
gonna
it gets
have to try to
responded
enforce
It
it.
does or it doesn't, yeah.
And when you think about it, I guess, if you're on the edge down there around the park, you're not sitting in your private camper either. I mean, you are out in a space where you're meeting other people more. I mean,
No, you're sitting at the pavilion, you're sitting at the picnic table.
Boat landing.
Down by the cleaning shack, you're sitting on the, right?
You're sitting on
That's,
the
you know,
lighthouse.
That's what we're talking about here, is restricting the use, so.
Right.
but I mean, it's that you know, then you are like anywhere else, like out more publicly as opposed to
Yeah.
back sitting around by your little
Yeah, in your
campfire by your
camper, yeah,
trailer.
right, yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't feel quite
It
so.
doesn't feel very restrictive. No.
Okay, anything else about this that we didn't feel like maybe needs to be tweaked or changed or whatever? Or is that it?
I'd recommend changing a little bit of the language in the paragraph A right away, where it says city-owned streets, sidewalks, alleys, parking lots, or open space. There's quite a few county rights of way in these zones as well. And I think just change city-owned to public, and that should cover our
Okay.
intent
Okay.
and include all those spaces.
All right. Thank you. Anything else we want to chew on this one? Good.
No.
All right.
I don't know, have you
Yeah.
read, has anybody read this 600-page thing? But I have a question. What's the federal government doing at their federal campsites, their federal parks in Minnesota? Because the feds don't look at this as being legal.
I would imagine they wouldn't allow it at all.
Yeah, so I mean,
I don't know from experience.
I would think they're not allowing it, but I haven't heard. I mean, you know. there's a lot of-
Everything, you know, like when I was at the conference and whatever, you know, everyone reiterated anything federally related, even if you're a facility that gets federal
Even
funding.
if you're a bank like MasterCard, right, they're now saying you cannot use your debit card to purchase cannabis.
Right. Well, that's why I look at the city of Grand Marais. We have federal money that we use for certain things within our city. The county has federal money that they use within the county. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of a muddy
Kind of-
water, it's a muddy watered thing, you know? It's
Yeah,
gonna
for
have
a
to
while.
get sorted out, right?
Be messy. But we've taken care of our little space that we can control.
Yeah.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion in mentioning the two changes we are recommending?
I'll make a motion to accept the changes that we've made, in adding the public resource zone, which is basically Artist Point, the parking lot, and the lighthouse, that area, going all the way back to Broadway, then up to Broadway, yeah.
Okay.
And incorporating the language change that Mike had mentioned,
From city to public?
city to public, yes.
All right.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, on. Thanks everyone, from Chris's office to all of you guys, because it was kind of time sensitive. And I just want our city to do the best we can to make sure this first weekend in Fisherman's Picnic, everyone can kind of get through some of this without, I'm glad we did not sit on this, and we took what we could do to try to, it already hit social media, and people are already ready
Yeah, I
to go
know,
out.
people are already making plans for
Yeah, which,
sidewalk parties, so
no
I hope they
surprise.
take a look at what the rules are now, so I hope it.
So I talked to Patrick today, and as Mike just mentioned, we're gonna try to communicate in every possible, avenue we have. And, and try to do it in a polite way and make it, everyone realize it's not, we're out here to pick on you, but we're trying to make this work for everyone. Because right away on social media, people said, hey, wait a minute, I don't wanna walk down the street and smell your stuff either. So, they have to understand, just like everywhere else, it's, we'll respect both directions.
Well, this is interesting because I have relatives, or let's just say I have family that lives in Michigan. Okay, and let's just say there's some beaches that my daughter won't take their children to because it just smells bad. There's
Sure.
there's some places they just don't go. There's some places that they can go. So, Michigan has legalized this for a year now, maybe 2 years. And so people have just learned where to go or not to go, and I don't want a Grand Marais. I think about our community. I don't want it to be a place where people just don't go anymore because of something that, that's a nuisance thing that maybe we could control or try to control a little bit. And I think we need to do some effort to try to at least look at the overall impacts that it has, that it can have to the public. So
Completely, yeah.
that's all, this is how I see it.
No, that's the whole thing. We have this super welcoming community. We have all these beautiful beaches and open space, and we want to make sure everyone wants to be there and feels comfortable being there. So it's the best we can do right now. And of course, now this is just like this immediate enthusiasm.
Right,
And then you don't want to get it started off on a bad foot.
right.
So,
Let's just try to figure it out as we
yeah.
move along.
So, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Council and staff reports. I don't think I have anything really.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything either.
We had a Parks and Trail meeting yesterday. We have a new person who is stepping in for Tim Nelson. What is his last name, Mike? Do you know? Tim, I can't remember his last name. It's Tim.
I have not heard.
Okay, well, anyway, does he work in the planning and zoning, wetland delineation? He's taking on the Parks and Trails.
Mitch Travis?
Is it Mitch? Or
I think it's Mitch Travis.
it's Mitch Travis, okay. That's his name. Anyway, so this was his first meeting with us, so he's got a lot to kind of absorb on what's been going on. Which will be a good thing because he can devote some time into looking into some of the things that we've been questioning and trying to get together and trying to get a cohesive group of people who are kind of like looking at our parks and trails, and that seems to be a big area as far as, it's always easy to get not always easy, but it seems to be easy to get money to create and do and build and start, but then we got to maintain all this stuff. So now we have somebody in charge who can kind of look down those avenues to maintain certain things that is going on within the county. But, so we had a meeting, talked about a lot of that kind of stuff, and then we did have a group present to us a possible plan for disc golf, and the land that they're looking at is county-owned land, which is approximately 5 acres just north of the 2 ball fields up at the school, next to the Gunflint Trail and next to both ball fields. It's kind of a wetland area. There's a lot of wetland in there actually, but they explained how their possible venture here would be somewhat temporary because they do want to move in and maybe look at the whole Sawtooth Bluffs thing that was originally laid out. But they think they can do something there that's low impact, low cost, and yet get some usage and get some energy behind this, 9-hole system. So it's kind of nice to see how they were thinking about this and how they wanted to incorporate it into that piece of property without a whole lot of, I should say, basically just cleaning up the property for one thing, because they've walked it, there's a lot of garbage and trash and stuff in there, and they want to clean that up and just kind of make it, that's something that works, Adjacent to the ball fields, you have parking that's available, there's bathrooms that are available, so it's kind of like a startup that might be positive, I don't know. So anyway, so they have to form their group and get some organization type stuff done before they can actually approach the county and make an ask for the property. But we kind of gave them the go ahead, hey, go up there, flag it, let us kind of know how it's going to look, and then get organized, and then they have to pitch it to the county board basically, because this has nothing to do with the city, but it's it's in the city, So that's kind of we talked about that.
So is that, it's county land in the city proper is what you're saying?
Yes.
County land, okay.
It's county land in the city limits.
City limits, okay.
Yeah, it's where the Pappy Wright field is?
Yep.
And we have a name on the other field? Arlie Jorgensen?
Yes, yep.
Arlie. They both look north.
Yep,
Well, it's that land just past that center
Sure.
field that goes up to County Road 7.
right.
There's about 5 acres in there.
The only reason I ask is that where part of the land they were contemplating putting in those ball fields, should they get them out of the downtown?
Well, actually, it's part of the land that I don't know if this is part of the Sawtooth Bluff thing, but it was actually land that the bike park was thinking of moving into to develop.
Okay.
But this is not where they want to have
The long
the
term.
disc golf for the long term.
Right.
They would like to see it start and be maybe a catalyst to get it, who knows, if it takes off, it's real popular, then I think they might look at the Sawtooth Bluff area, because that is accessible, but it would cost more to get a driveway in there and to actually develop that land and to make it into the disc golf type thing. And so they're just kind of looking at this property for the needs that they see at this point in time,
Sure.
in the short term. Yeah. So then, well, actually, the Sawtooth Bluff did come up, and we talked about that too, but yeah, anyway, that's something that we could talk about later, I guess, as far as the contract for the joint powers between the county and the city on that. I'm not sure where we are with that, but they kind of want to start talking about that and get us active in it again. But, we've had a lot of things going on here. We haven't had time with we're doing a master plan at the park, and then with the highway stuff and everything that's going on, so.
City Hall, water treatment.
Yeah, so, we get done with our master plan at the park, maybe it's something we can look at, I don't know. That's something Mike's and Dave and all of us have to contemplate on getting back into the swing of that, if we decide that's what we want to do. So, that's about all I have, I guess.
All right, well, with that then, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, have a good night.
Yep, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.